Good morning, everybody. My name is Charlotte. I hope you are all having an excellent morning. I'm just going to share this with myself on my own Facebook page. How do I do that? Okay. Sweet. So, yeah, my name's Charlotte. I'm with the Wilderness Committee. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you're having a good morning. I hope everyone has a nice beverage that they're drinking this morning. Maybe a coffee, maybe a tea, maybe a double cream and sugar like Michael Scott. I, myself, am drinking a beer. I'm just kidding. Obviously, this is coffee. But hey, it's 10 a.m. It's 5 p.m. somewhere. 10 a.m. here. All right, so I am the Conservation and Policy Campaigner with the Wilderness Committee. I work on species at risk and the laws or lack of laws and the policies that should protect them and that we should have in order to save species at risk. Before we get started, I just want to say, first of all, let me know what you're drinking. For those of you just joining us. And also, throughout this video, it's really great to see engagement. So if you like something that I say, hit the like or love button. If you dislike something that I say, just there's really no button for that. So yeah. No, but in all seriousness, it's great to see people's engagement. So definitely hit those buttons. And then also drop any questions you have into the comment section because I will answer them at the end. So today I'm going to be talking about caribou. Now, they're warm, they make you feel warm and fuzzy, and if we lost them in BC, we'd be totally devastated. Obviously, I am talking about the animal caribou, not this one. Yeah, the animal caribou. So it's a little bit more important of a caribou. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about southern mountain caribou. Now, give me a heck yeah in the comments if you like either one of those caribous, the beer or the animal. And I'm also going to start this off with a fun little poll that I put together. Hopefully it works, actually. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Starting off with a poll. Have you ever heard of southern mountain caribou? Yes or no? There should be a poll that pops up. Hopefully I'm not lagging too much. I'll just wait a little bit for comments to come in. All right, I think it's lagging a little bit, but we got some answers. There we go, sweet. 100% of people have heard of southern mountain caribou before. That's awesome. Now, what level of risk are southern mountain caribou faced with? So what do you think? Are they special concern? Are they threatened? Are they endangered? Or are they just not at risk? Let me know. Hopefully you guys are all getting these polls. If not, just answer in the comments what you think. Are they faced with extinction? Are they endangered? Are they threatened? Are they special concern? Or are they not at risk? All right, we got some answers in. Some people think threatened. Some people think endangered. Last question I have for you here. Have you ever seen a southern mountain caribou? Now, if you answer yes, I am so incredibly jealous. But pop those comments or get your results into the poll. This is a question I'm really interested about. Okay, so far we have 100% of people who are saying they have never seen southern mountain caribou. And that makes a lot of sense. Now, if I were to have gone back in time in the 40s and asked this question again, the answers probably would have been a lot different. Those days, caribou were said to have been like ants on the landscape. There are reports of caribou migrating over hilltops and the ground actually shaking beneath you. They numbered in the millions. And throughout Canada, every single province and territory in Canada has a subspecies of caribou. Which is truly amazing. But the caribou that are left today are a patchwork and a small fragment of what used to be a blanket of caribou over the landscape. And we have some herd sizes that have dropped from the thousands to down to less than a handful. Now, there's a lot of different perceptions about caribou, and that's why I wanted to talk to them today, because there's not a lot of public awareness about caribou. So when I talk about caribou in my everyday life, I get different answers about, people's perceptions. So ranging from people saying like, aren't caribou fake? Or don't caribou just live up north in the Arctic? And to my favorite, from my Australian friend, and if you're watching, I'm so very sorry, but aren't caribou like fake? And aren't they a pest? So yeah, I'm sure some of you listening who work on caribou have heard different things and different comments from people about caribou. So pop any different funny comments you've heard people say about caribou in the comments. I'm interested to hear it. So the caribou subspecies I'm talking about today is mountain caribou, specifically the southern mountain population. Now, this is a population who spans from Western Alberta into BC and used to go a little bit into the States. They used to roam into Idaho, Montana, and Washington. Now, in 2019, the herd that also went into the States actually became extirpated, and the last female was captured and relocated to a maternity pen in Revelstoke. So this move actually marked the extirpation of caribou in the United States. Caribou now no longer live there, and that's really devastating. So extinction is literally happening today and before our eyes. Now, I also just want to see for the wildlife keeners out there, if you know the Latin name of southern mountain caribou, or tag someone if you think they'll know the Latin name of caribou, and pop it into the comments. Okay, so now southern mountain caribou, their range only extends from Western Alberta into BC, and really majority live in BC. So if we lose southern mountain caribou in BC, we lose them from this planet forever. And now, okay, so now that we're all feeling very optimistic and happy and have this incredible burden on our shoulders, let's get down to what really causes caribou decline in the wilderness. So the Pacific Northwest is home to the largest inland temperate rainforest in the world, which is really cool. When you think rainforest, you think coastal, but we actually have a rainforest inland in BC. And caribou rely on these old growth trees in this forest to live. They eat the lichen that can only grow on trees over 100 years old. So as we destroy their forest, they lose their home, they lose their food, they lose their shelter, and they're unable to survive. And I just want to show you the extent of resource extraction in southern mountain caribou habitat. Now, this is just a Google image, nothing fancy. I just hovered over an area that's critical habitat to an at-risk caribou herd. So hopefully you can see it. I know it's kind of blurry. And you can see, the hundreds, maybe thousands of logging cut blocks, but what you can't see are the thousands of logging roads connecting all of those cut blocks. And like I said, this is in the critical habitat of an at-risk caribou herd. So the extent of resource extraction in BC is immense, and the devastation to caribou is extreme. It's absolutely devastating for their populations. And now one of the most destructive projects to caribou in history is the Bennett Dam. And I'm using this as an example to explain how reliant caribou are on intact habitat. Now this is kind of obvious, but some people don't seem to focus on habitat. So the Bennett Dam was completed in 1967, and it flooded First Nation land without consultation. This greatly impacted the Say-Kay-Dene and the Quachua First Nation. The land was flooded, and First Nations weren't even given a heads up when this happened. And people from the Quachua First Nation were caught unaware as waters rose and submerged their riverboats. There's even a story of a man named Emil McCook who saved and rescued a young boy from the rising water after one of the boats overturned. But also impacted were caribou, which is crucial to their culture. So caribou relied on this valley, this wooded valley, to migrate. And when this land was flooded, that migration corridor was severed, and caribou literally drowned in the water, trying to find a way around this water to migrate. And today, all herds in the Peace Valley region are at risk of extinction, and the burnt pine herd is a herd that actually went extinct not too long ago. when the last remaining caribou fell in a coal exploration pit. I know, it's so depressing. And I'm not telling you this just to depress you beyond belief, but I want to help get the message out there that caribou need intact habitat first and foremost. That message is often lost. So the next thing I want to talk about, and what often gets most of the attention, is the shift in predator-prey dynamics. As we destroy caribou habitat, it creates a land that's very fragmented and easy for predators to access, like wolves or cougars. And we create what are called linear features. So normally in a forest, a wooded area, it's got a variety of trees growing, blah, blah, blah. But as we cut straight lines through it, through logging roads or seismic lines, those are called linear features. And wolves use those features up to 2 to 3 times quicker than they can travel just in a normal forest. So the result is an increase in hunting efficiency. Now, like, if only I had a miniature wolf or something to show you what I mean. Oh, just one second. Let me just reposition this camera here. Okay, so this caribou, let's say this is a caribou, easy. Let's say this is an old growth forest, their tree. And then here we have the fierce wolf. Okay, so, and then this right here, a cat poop scooper. This will be a feller buncher, which is used in the logging industry to cut down trees. So right now, this wolf here, AKA Pumpkin, can't really see the caribou here. She can't really smell it. This old growth forest tree is sort of blocking her line of sight and smell. And if she had to go around it, it would take her a little bit longer to maneuver. But as the logging industry cuts down these trees, now Pumpkin here has a straight line of sight and smell to the caribou. Okay, glad we used Pumpkin as help there. Very, very, very complicated stuff. Needed to have a little pocket wolf to help explain that one. Okay, so the other thing about southern mountain caribou in BC is that there's an added factor, and the added factor there is that they live in high elevation old growth forests. So this means that the snowpack is incredibly deep. And now caribou, southern mountain caribou, evolved to have these wide hooves. Their hooves are actually wider than they are long. And they kind of act as like snowshoes and keep them above the snow. And then they're able to live up there and reach lichen on top of old growth trees. Now wolves obviously do not have this feature, and traveling and traversing really deep snow is really difficult for wolves in long distances. But as we cut into the forest and as those roads are made, we have other uses like ATVs, snowmobiles, even people hiking and walking and other vehicles. And those things together make it easy for wolves to now travel down those roads that are all packed down. So what was once an area that wolves couldn't access because of the deep snow has now become accessible by wolves. And what we've done basically is created a highway for predators to access caribou. And obviously we can't blame like Pumpkin there, the wolf. We can't blame these animals for using those roads. I mean, we're the reason those highways are there in the first place. And killing these animals, but also allowing caribou habitat to be destroyed and not restoring those old lines is a Band-Aid solution, and it does not fix the real problem. So habitat protection is the solution. When a population is said to be recovered, it means that that population is able to live and exist without the need for human intervention. This means humans can walk away, leave that animal in that population, and they will reproduce and be able to live on. What the BC government has done is kind of gone the opposite way with it. We're making caribou more reliant on us. Because we've invested heavily and only in a predator call to kill wolves all the time, they're requiring that we're going to continue killing wolves. Whereas if we just protected and restored habitat, we can set caribou up on a path to become self-sustaining and achieve that, that key word, which is recovery. Now, Wilderness Committee in 2014 filed an FOI, Freedom of Information request, and they found that logging companies were actually sitting in meetings with government while the government was planning a caribou recovery plan. And I'm guessing you guys can guess what the forest industry asked for. They asked the government to kill wolves instead of protect habitat, and the government listened. And so ever since then, in 2015, we officially started a wolf cull. They're not only killing wolves now, they're also expanding it to cougars and to other prey species. But all hope is not lost. I want to give you an example of a plan that was really effective and just happened, and it's very exciting. So I'm going to be talking about the partnership agreement. West Moberly and Saulteaux First Nation of the Peace Valley region, they took matters into their own hands quite a while ago, and they started a program to save caribou. Now, the BC government didn't really come to the table until they were forced to do so by the federal government. So finally, we had all 5 governments at the table. We had West Moberly, Saulteaux First Nation, provincial government, and the federal government. Sorry, that's 4. And they all negotiated a plan to help save caribou. And despite numerous hiccups, shady business on behalf of the province, and pressure from industry to stop the plan, we actually did it. And they actually did it. They got the plan, and it was officially signed in 2020. So everyone give yourselves a pat on the back for that one if you filled out any of our requests to write into the government to support the plan. It was amazing to be a part of a plan that actually has a fighting chance at protecting caribou. Now, this plan will protect an area 2.5 times the size of Manning Park. It implements an Indigenous guardianship program, and it's investing heavily in the restoration of old seismic lines and roads in order to block access from predators. And I just want to say that we need to seek guidance, and we need to support other First Nations throughout Canada and in BC who are wanting to protect caribou on their land. That's where the solution really lies. Now, it wouldn't be a Thursday morning coffee talk without a fiery take action. So I just want to say, if you are interested in helping out, one of the tools that we're really missing from our toolbox is a BC Provincial Species at Risk Act. So we do have a Federal Species at Risk Act, but it only applies to federal land, which makes up 4% of the land base. So what this means is if you're a species at risk located on provincial land, which is 96% of the land, you receive automatically 0 protection. We need to change that. We can change that through a Species at Risk Act. So if we had a law, it would just give us another lever to pull in order to save caribou. Now, Premier Horgan promised us this law. In fact, he got elected on it, and he even put it in the mandate for George Heyman. But he's now breaking it. I feel like industry has got their way with him, and he is walking back on that promise, and he says there's no foreseeable law. So we're going to call him out on that, and we're going to remind him of the promises he's made. So if you want to, please help out and email him today telling him to enact a 2021 Species at Risk law for BC. It's a very simple ask, and he will know exactly what you're talking about. Next up, if you haven't already, sign up on our website to get our action alerts. You can do other take actions to save species at risk, or get involved with some of our other campaigns, learn about some other cool events we're hosting. And yes, virtual events can be very cool. And then last but not least, donate if you're in a position to. We are people powered. So that literally means that we're funded by individuals like you and I. And yeah, if you're in a position to, that would be amazing, and you can help continue our fight to save species at risk like caribou. Okay, so that's it, but I am going to jump to some questions. Actually, how do I find the comments? So yeah, if you have any questions, just pop them into the the message box. I can't see the comments right now, so I'm just trying to find them. Okay, here we go. Pumpkin the wolf. Pumpkin would never hurt a caribou. True, true, true. Pumpkin is a little angel. What are some real solutions? I hope you stuck around to where I got to solutions. We need to protect habitat, the remaining habitat. We need to invest heavily in restoration of habitat to block access. That doesn't mean just like waiting 100 years for an old growth tree to grow back, but there's different measures you can take, such as fencing, such as creating mounds through these lines. And honestly, I think industry should be responsible for cleaning up the mess that they've created. So we need to hold those companies more accountable for restoring their old logging roads and their old seismic lines that are destroying habitat. There should be a law. Yes, there should be. I absolutely agree. Why do caribou need old growth forest specifically for habitat? They need old growth forest for multiple reasons. One is the lichen that they eat can only grow on trees over 100 years old. So once you take away that forest, their food source is not coming back for about 100 years. And then they also rely on those old, like more spaced out trees just for shelter and protection, where the snowpack is deep and where wolves, cougars wouldn't normally be able to access them. Why are there so many subpopulations of caribou? Well, you know, a lot of subpopulations, like in BC, caribou used to range, like I said, it was a blanket. The herds used to interact with each other a lot, but what's happened now is their range has contracted so much that a lot of the herds that used to cross over and interact and interbreed with each other are now separated. And so it's kind of made this like patchwork of small herds that are hanging on, which also impacts genetics and diversity. How many southern mountain caribou remain? That's a good question. There needs to be a better census on this, like a new updated census, which was happening, but then COVID took place and now it's kind of delayed a little bit. But there's roughly about 1,500 southern mountain caribou right now. The Species at Risk Act should technically protect provincial species at risk, but that requires the province to act. Now, when the province fails to act, the federal government has a legal tool to step in and demand habitat protection. That's an emergency order. Unfortunately, the federal government seems to be a little afraid to use it, and so we're stuck with sort of blame shifting between the feds and the province, where no one's really willing to stand up and take action to save species. Okay, I think I covered all the questions. I hope you guys like this. Thanks so much for chatting with me, being interactive. That's awesome. And yeah, take care, stay safe, and definitely log on for the next one next Thursday. Bye, guys.